Welcome to Caching Waves. This is an Elliott Wave update for SEI. Now, big shout out to Xenophon. He suggested me take a look at this coin, see if it's a potential 1212. So thanks again to him for bringing that to my attention. Now, we're going to be discussing this count, but before I get into that, this is SEI, 1 billion market cap right now, ranked 68 by market cap, and it is a layer 1. Now, before I pick a chart to go off of, right now I'm using Binance, I always check the history on CoinMarketCap just to see where our actual highs are. If someone has a better source, let me know. But I'm counting our lows at around 10 cents from the pivot in November as the start of my count. Because if I go to Binance, you can see I got this one spike. You might start thinking, oh, that's a 1-2. But going off CoinMarketCap, the low is actually right in this area, right here. So that's where I'm going to start my count from. Now, this was a very difficult count. I've spent about 2 hours, no joke, looking at this, just because it was worth my time. But this is our significant low. We have a wave 1 and 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and 5. Discrepancy whether this is a flat or an ending diagonal. I went with flat because of this move was very, very quick. Either way, it counts correct. We had our wave 2, we had our wave 1 and 2, 3, 4, and this is an ending diagonal for our 5th and the 3rd. So we have extended 5th waves in our 3rd at this point. And off of that, we had a very extended triangle. Very complicated count. I went over this many different ways. This is the way that fits best as an impulse. Other thing I used to throw up there was our pitchfork. This is on modified, so it's a channel, and it seemed to fit best for this, our 3rd exploding outside of the channel. We then got our 4th wave right on the edge and got our spike up for our 5th wave. We have 3 waves in each one of our waves for our triangle, and we just got our spike up for our 5th. One thing I don't like about this is it doesn't reach our measurement for our thrust, but it is valid. This is the best way I can see to count this as a impulse. Only other option was to count this as a diagonal, like so, with a very long wave 1, but it didn't reach measurements for our wave 3, which I didn't like. Usually I target the 618 and it's off the chart. So because of those reasons, this is the way I'm counting the impulse. Not ideal, but it is there. Looking at our indicators, our peak RSI on our indicators here was at the 3rd of the 3rd. Triple top for our diagonal and sideways for our triangle. And you can see between our 5th right here and our 3rd is divergence. This is part of the triangle. Spikes on each way. Looks good. So this is how I would count this diagonal, or sorry, this impulse. I'd be using this pitchfork as well. Very difficult count. It's worth taking the time though to make sure everything, all the rules and guidelines work, because I understand the impulse to just be like come in here and go 1, 2, 3, 4 here and 5, but you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not going on smaller time frames to make sure the count makes sense. All right, so after that, this is a larger wave 1, a larger term, 1 looking for a wave 2, larger version of this. So now we're looking for a correction down to the 618 retracement of this wave between the 50 and the 618 before a potential pivot is in. And we got that right here. So there is our 618 retracement. Throw on our golden zone. I go by 66. Some people go by 65. That's their zone. So if you're buying this on a larger trend, this would be an excellent buy zone, the 618 to the 66, before this had played out. If I was aware of this, I would have taken this trade right at the 618. I did this on ICP. Same thing. Stop at the 66, targeting way above all-time highs. This is how you get those really exceptional trade setups. They don't always work out, but they're always going to be your best risk reward. So in the future, if you see a setup like this, 5 waves up, not financial advice, just giving you a little bit of knowledge. If you can buy that 618, just put an order there like well in advance, stop at the 66. That's one of the best trade setups you can get. All right, talking about the correction over here. Again, a very difficult count. Things that stood out right away was this triangle, most likely a connecting wave in a combination. Off this high had a diagonal A, B, C, impulse for our C wave. We then had our X wave as a triangle, A, B, C, D, E. This count was a little bit more difficult. This was a wave 1, 2 with a flat B wave, which is like so, A, B, C. That's our wave 2 as a flat. We then had our third wave to the downside, 4 and 5. So we have an A wave, and we had another triangle. This one was a running triangle. A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if the count is complete, we have a WXY as a double zigzag. One thing I don't like about this is we haven't hit the 1-to-1 extension, which is the 1-to-1 of W off of X. That's usually where we like to see a pivot, at the 1-to-1. But the larger time frames tend to rule the smaller time frames, so I'm going with the fact that we hit the 618 retracement as the more helpful indicator than the 1-to-1. Minimum requirement was the 618, which we did hit. I believe our ABC was slightly off as well at the end. We did hit the 618 extension as well. So technically everything that we need to have a complete correction is there. We just need to see the reaction in this zone to see if this area holds. Because if this is the low of the larger wave 2, we cannot come below this level, which is at 24.07. So we'll zoom into the hourly here. This has also been a tough count. SEI is a very difficult count. Right now I have this as a double zigzag for a wave 1 in a diagonal. We have our wave 2, wave 3, again as most likely a double zigzag, ABC, ABC, our X, and same here for our 5th. These are very difficult counts, as you can see, a lot of overlap. That's how I see it currently, so looking for a correction to the downside. One other thing to note is it does not like hitting ideal targets, SEI, so I'm paying more attention to shape than anything. So usually, if you're a regular to my videos, you know I look for at least the 618 to the 786 extension for diagonals. Not a rule, just a guideline. But I would have liked to see our wave 3 come up a little higher in this diagonal. 3, 4, 5, like this. It does fit all the rules. It's just a guideline, but I would not be surprised if our wave 3 was actually over here. We're working on a 4th. And we get a 5th before we come down for our correction. So just keep that in mind. I'm just going to leave it as the label right now. And we'll see if we dip below. I have alarms. I'm going to be setting alarms on this to make sure I don't miss this. But pretty easy setup from here. What I usually do in these zones, not financial advice, I just want to tell you what I do, is I usually put a buy at the 382, 50, and the 618, 1/3 of my position at each level. I risk 1% per trade, so it would be like 0.33%, 0.33%, etc. My average price will be the 50. and my stop is at that low. And that's where we're going for. So we'll have to see how this pans out. Like I said, we can get another kick up, but this is a clear 3-wave. Can't really see how to count it any other way. Technically, this could be a 1, 2, 3, super long 4, 5. And this could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can count this as an impulse. It does count as an impulse, but you can see the shape's all off. That's why I don't count it that way. All right, so where would we be targeting if the pivot is in? Let's go out to the daily. We're looking for 1.618 extension. It's going to be high. Just to warn you, I know a lot of people believe this probably will not happen, which is fine. The amount of setups I've seen like this that end up coming to fruition is quite significant. No one believes it till it happens. I'm not shilling, nothing like that. I'm just giving you good how I see the market and potentially good trade setups. We're looking for the 1.618. It's at 1392. %4,000%. See if we end up getting that. You can see it's one of the best risk rewards at the moment, up around 200 plus to 1 if you're able to get that the 50% retracement buy area. What's nice about that is the stop is so tight. We have a very hard stop for our invalidation, and we're potentially at the beginning of the trend. Now, how can this fail? That's the other question. Well, this can turn into WXYXZ, and we do come down to that 1-to-1. All that would look like is this turns into a WXY. Remember, diagonals mimic WXYs, so we could just come down here for another 3-wave move. And this would be WXYXZ, and this would take the shape of a wedge. In which case I would look for a reversal again and look for an entry again. So that's if we fail. But there you have it, guys. Very tough count. Very difficult. A lot of time invested in this one. So we'll see if we get the pivot we're looking for. I have my buys at these 3 levels. Stop at this low. And I'll make sure to update this one on the regular. Thanks again to Xenophone for finding this one, and I'll see you guys on the next one.